welcome back. We got billboards.
You
Let's see
bet.
what we have, Chris.
We want to pay tribute to the businesses that stand with us. We're so grateful. DB and Company, printing and marketing for any size business. They can do it. We're talking about Dave Bass here and his crew. They know what they're doing. They already have some clients of some of the biggest businesses in Bakersfield. So he's the guy to turn to if you have printing and marketing needs. David Bass, DB and Company. Also, Express Car Wash. Hey, you guys over in at Lancaster now have 2 of these. We've got 7 here in Bakersfield. Boy, in and out in 5 minutes. Does a beautiful job. I've got a black car. I have mine washed every day, every day. Legal Shield. You've got car insurance, boat insurance, life insurance, every other kind of health insurance. You need legal insurance, and so that you can call an attorney with a matter that's either trivial or terrible, and for just pennies, not for $200 an hour. Excuse me, Ralph. That they can really address your problem. Legal Shield at 3. There you go. And
Okay, well, thank you, Kern Construction and Electric Incorporated. Robert Miller, a very long-time resident here in Bakersfield, loves his work, and he's been doing it for years. You can contact him at 661-322-5554. Thank you, Robert.
you know, we just take water for granted, but if pure water at some point is no longer pure, if it becomes contaminated, it's gone. And I mean, it seems like we may be in that peril. And I'm asking our guests, Ralph, Patricia, are we in peril of losing fresh, clean water here in the valley, this vast 400-mile valley?
I think the valley, the state, I mean, there's been a lot of news reports that we're in peril and that sometime in the next year, the state might run out of water. So certainly the valley is greatly impacted by this question of how do we keep the fresh water fresh. And when you have so much activity going on that actually infiltrates the water, it doesn't protect what is a scarce resource. And so we have to start readjusting our priorities of how to protect that scarce resource. One of the difficulties we face is understanding the scope of the risk. And so when you're asking me, like, are we in peril? There are typically reports that are done by the state that let you know how much oil production is happening and how that might be impacting the water. But in the last 4 years, there's been no report about that intersection between water and oil. So the extent of the issues is really unknown because the state itself isn't reporting, despite the fact that they did reports on this every year since 1915. We've now went 4 years without having an annual report. So how we're going to know the extent without the reports, it's a little difficult to address.
And is this 4-year gap, again, politics? He who pays the most is boss, and so the oil industry can just work its will?
Well, California is broken. It's been broken for a long time, and that's why we're in the situation we're in. And I'm entertained by your use of the word, should we have the oil and agriculture and government collaborate, okay? Well, that is a key term that I've come to know in 13 years, and that is an approach that the oil companies take with government. They call it a collaborative approach. Now, let me tell you what it is. It's give the appearance that you're working with the government so that you can buy time to continue to do what you're doing. So they actually do calculations that if we can gain 10 years on the collaborative approach, we will make money on interest earnings on the money that we will have to spend in 10 years. So that's the nature of the dance between oil and government. It's been going on for years, and it will continue to go on for years into the future. And we'll be sitting here 40 years from now,
Collaborating.
and it'll be like a rerun of this show.
Wow, wow. You know, before we went on the air today, Patricia was telling me she's just had come back from Colorado, which has its own water problems. And they said something to you that was just now ironic. Tell us what the folks in Colorado were saying about California.
Well, they told me that they're watching us to see how we fix this problem because they recognize this is a nationwide issue. And if we're not able to resolve it, they don't know how they're going to resolve it. Because across the country, the questions that Ralph is presenting are big issues for everybody. And the reality is I agree that as long as we don't have serious discussions about how we fix this problem, then it's just going to be something we pretend doesn't exist. It's not until we get the political will and say, look, it's time to sit down and do something about it, do we have a chance to fix it? Because it's much bigger than any of us. And whether we're going to have a discussion in 40 years from now or not, still to be decided. Because, when the farmers started coming to my law firm, I work for Rex Paris. And when they started coming to us, that was 3 years ago. We've been dealing with these issues for quite some time, and it's not slowing down. It's increasing.
Oh, it is.
So when do we sit down? When does the state have the political will to say, we're going to take this very difficult issue and protect the interests of all Californians and set the standard that the whole nation can then watch and go, that's it. That's how you work together and fix a serious, difficult issue.
It seems the crux of this whole issue right now is political, and in politics right now, money rules. Money rules across the nation. Money rules in every state. Money rules over public safety or public health or anything else. Money rules. That seems to be what I'm hearing here. Am I correct?
But I was just going to jump in and say that's always been true. Doesn't the Bible talk about bribes and the political officials who took the bribes? And the prophet Amos said, we're going to have trouble if you keep taking bribes because there was no justice. If we do not do justice, yes, then we will not have justice. But that's with every individual person changing how they live. It's not just the politicians. How do we all say, how can we be the best citizens we can be so that the officials have an easier job and they don't have to take the bribes?
Excellent. So how does a farmer or a resident take a test of their water? Is there a means of doing that?
Most of the farmers work with farm growing companies that test it and seed growing companies that help test their water on an annual basis. And I'll let Ralph, because he's dealt with this too.
Okay.
You know what rules is two things. The money rules and apathy rules. And people that the next generation and the next generation are going to be harmed by, even though it's their family members, are willing to sit by and do nothing. And we don't need any collaboration. We don't need any studies to figure out what to do. We know what to do. We've known what to do forever. We have laws in place now to protect water. They've been in place every day that the water's being polluted. So we're not enforcing that. California isn't enforcing it. The federal government isn't enforcing it. So the only way we will be, in our own small way, noisemakers, okay? I spent 13 years making noise and figuring out how this system worked. People are apathetic. If you're going to take something away, you're going to get in your refrigerator and put some poison in your milk today, you're going to be hot. If somebody's making money putting poison in the milk that's going to be delivered in 50 years, nobody's too concerned about it. So that's the dilemma we're living with. Our water's been going away to polluters for years. And it's continuing today, and it will continue in the future. And if there ever is a turning point, it's going to be that people at the grassroots level make noise and start to care about what is being taken away from them.
Well, I think Ralph has just given us our marching orders.
Yes,
You've
yes.
certainly laid out the problem very clearly, and we deeply appreciate you coming here, sharing it with our viewers. And so Colorado, We're not fixing it, are we? You got to fix it back there yourselves. Now
well-
we got to watch Colorado and see what they do.
Well, I think everything goes back to all of us stepping forward. And I think doing justice is bigger than just having, is taking care of all the people around us. And when you start acting like a good neighbor, then maybe the oil companies will act like a good neighbor. I don't think that's guaranteed, but we have to take control of our own part of the world. And Kern County has the ability, and each person in this community has the ability to say, look, I'm going to speak up when I see something.
Right.
I'm going to protect the people that I see are victims.
Right.
And I'm going to start having a different mentality. And how can I serve my community? How can I take care of each other?
And I have to ask, Ralph, are our local politicians, lawmakers, legislators, are they stepping forward on this issue, or are they too in the background and just letting it go forward?
Well, we don't see any of them on the news today, do we? Stepping forward and saying, this is going to stop.
Kern County has sent, the Board of Supervisors have sent letters to the governor asking that the governor allow the continued injection of salt water into the freshwater. So it's not only that they have not stepped up to help, they've affirmatively encouraged the governor to allow continued contamination of the freshwater aquifer.
So we're part of the problem.
That's right. It's the water rights we have are being sold by the day and have for years, and that will continue. And it is just as simple as that.
Well, I'm very glad that this show is going to be archived, because we can always
Yes.
go back and listen and learn more and raise the flag and maybe march forward.
And
What do
make some noise.
What do you think, Tina?
Yes, I think so.
All right.
I'm hearing, and I know we need to go to a break, but make some noise about your water.
Tell us about our next guest.
Wow, next guest, talking about grief recovery. You don't want to miss it.
All right.
Thank you for staying with us.
Be right back.